Okay, I just need you guys to tell me again if I'm out of sync. It's synced, but for how long? Let's go for like 60 seconds and see if it's synced. Let's see. Is it good? I'm gonna keep talking. Make sure my links stay synced. As soon as it gets out of sync, tell me. Synced. 100% better for real this time. You're good so far. So good. Synced. Okay, synced. Okay, so okay, if it's good now, then that means that the problem was Firefox. I was using Firefox, and I usually use Google Chrome, so that has solved it. Technology is weird, doesn't make any sense, but whatever. We got through it, and now we can continue talking about three-letter problem. As I was saying, okay, guys. So I've watched the first 4 episodes. I really enjoy the first 4 episodes. I was saying earlier that I think this show is a show that's absolutely 100% made for people that have read the book and not necessarily like a new audience. I don't really see people that don't really know what they're getting into watching this show really. But if you love the three-body problem and you love the concepts and if you've read the book or you just like know of what happens, I think you can get into it. Because it's not typically when we see adaptations, one thing that's always true in all adaptations is they skip over a lot of things. They condense plot lines. They combine characters together to aid in simplicity. Here, there's pretty much none of that. It seems like all the minor characters are there. Basically, every conversation from the book is present so far. There are a few things that are being told out of order. And there is one particular moment that seems to have been omitted, but it could be coming back later. So we'll see about that. But I also heard that particular moment in the book is also censored in the Chinese version of the book. And I don't want to give it away and spoil it in case people haven't read the book. But there's a particular scene that apparently is not in the Chinese version of the book. And it takes place in the beginning of the American version, at least. And it doesn't seem to be a part of this show yet, but it could happen in a flashback. But I feel like if it's censored in the book, then it's probably going to be censored in the show too. So we'll see about that. The first episode, I think, does a really good job of building the tension and making you uncertain. It's the same feeling that I got reading the book. And the show is interesting because it's reminding me of the feeling that I had when I read the first book because I didn't know what it was about. I just spoiler alert, like minor spoiler, like the whole thing. It's about there's aliens. Aliens are happening, but so I didn't know that like going into the first reading the book at first, and so it was curious seeing like all the layers slowly be unveiled, like what is really going on. There seems to be like this mystery that's like written into the core of reality itself, like physics isn't working, right? So that like our fundamental understanding of nature and how everything interacts with each other doesn't seem to be working at all. And that itself is very, very scary. I mean, and in the first episode we get the character talking about how over the last several decades when it comes to theoretical physics and the higher forms of science, the theories are becoming less and less simplistic and more vague. It's like our understanding is increasing in a way, but it's also almost like we're hitting a wall as well. So that's very, very interesting and very scary to think that like we can try so hard and we can continue to develop so far, but then like eventually we just hit a wall in our understanding where we can't go any further. And then Sishinlo steps in with this book and he says, but there's a reason for that. There's an even darker reason for that. And it's not just that we can't really get a grasp on it. It's like something is actively trying to block our understanding of physics. And that to me is just so freaking terrifying. So freaking terrifying. So I think the first episode does a good job of like building up the tension. And really it's hard to kind of even, to be honest, to think about these in terms of like episodes, like as Americans, see episodes, because they all kind of just like go together and continue to weave the same story. I don't know if I could say every episode has like a solid beginning, middle, end. It's kind of like it's just kind of like continuously weaving the story. And each episode is just like another few pages in the book. Um, so that's really, really good. I will say this could have to do with the fact that because it's 30 episodes, and it could have to do with the fact that, they just to put that much money in this. It's not the best looking television show I've ever seen, but I mean, I feel like it looks just as good as far as like things like CGI and stuff like that as like anything that you'd see on like the WB or like those DC TV shows. It looks as about as good as that. And with things like that, I think you probably only get like, I don't know how many episodes per season of those shows do you get, like 10, 15. Here we're getting 30 episodes. So I can definitely forgive CGI that's just like kind of not that good. James, I hope you're like marking down all the super chats for me, please, because I'll get to them later. I can definitely forgive, or if not, I can look that up again. I can forgive the CGI that's not that good if, the story is compelling. And I think the story is compelling, if a little bit slow. And that's I'm running into the problem that I had earlier, because it's like, I think the show is compelling if you give it a chance, right? I could see like a regular person watching this if they give it a chance and get through the first 4 episodes. Because I really feel like the content of the first 4 episodes in an American version of this show would be 1 episode. Like the American version of the show, like the first episode would end with the projection of the numbers on his eye, right? And that doesn't happen until the 4th episode, or 4th or 3rd, I forget exactly which one. But yeah, that doesn't happen until several episodes in. And it's so, someone says, still in sync, by the way. Yeah. And I feel like that's really the hooking point in the show. And that's also the hooking point in the book. Like once he gets the projections on his eyes, it's like, oh, I'm hooked, right? But it takes a few episodes to get into that here. And that's just because it's 30 episodes of one book, which is something we do not see. I have to emphasize, we don't see that in the West. We don't see adaptations like that. You're going to get 10 episodes to do your whole book, which is crazy. So I have no idea what Netflix is going to do, but I know that what they're doing here, for me, is superior to how most adaptations are handled. Because, like, yeah, you can give me like the flashiness of it all, and a bigger budget, but it's like, to me, ultimately, that all falls short to the story, right? Because, like, I don't care how good an adaptation of something is. I don't care how good an adaptation of something is if they cut out my favorite scenes, right? And I feel like here there's all like the little moments and scenes, like the pool table, right? The pool table scene is something that's probably going to get cut from the David and Dan version of this, but it's here, right? It's here. And I really, really appreciate the fact that it's so close and so immersive, and just like, they're really, really going. They're really going for the book story, right? They could have approached this from like, okay, yada yada yada. These books, science fiction, no one's going to understand that. Let's change it and simplify everything, and basically make it a whole different story. But instead, they're just saying we're going to give them the book. Like, I really think that whoever did the screenplay for this read the book, and just basically beat for beat, it looks like they're just adapting literally what happens in the book. And I think that's great. Someone says Dune in 2 movies is perfect, right? It's perfect, but I wish we had the extended cut of Dune. You know what I mean? I really do wish we had that 3-hour cut of Dune, and then we had that 3-hour Dune Part 2, right? Because I feel like Dune is a movie that needs 3 hours, right? I don't know. I haven't seen Avatar: Way of Water, but I hear like, at least to some degree, it kind of drags along and not much happens, right? Okay, back to Three Body Problem. What's great about Three Body Problem, this show, is that like, I think that from watching this show, it looks like all of it's not out, so I can't 100% judge it. But so far, I feel like you could watch this show and not read the book. And as long as you pay attention to what's happening, it seems like you're going to get the book story, which is just like phenomenal. So I know like some people just don't read. They have a hard time reading, like attention spans are short. And some people can watch a show easier than they can read, and that's fine. I think this is a great opportunity for someone that wants to get the whole story, but like is not necessarily a reader, to like totally get the story of at least the first book. And also what's great about this release, this Tencent release, is that they're releasing all the episodes for free, it seems like. And I think there's 2 or 3 that are out for free right now, and then you can be a member. I'm not sponsored by them, by the way. And then you can be a member for like however much a month. Um, and then they're releasing they're releasing the episodes daily for the next like 30 days until like the middle of February. So we're getting the episodes day by day by day by day, which to me is just like so different from how everything is done in the Western world. It's like you either get it all at once, like a Netflix, or you get it like week by week. But to get it daily is so freaking cool. And it's free. Yeah, it's free. I think the members get the episodes a little bit earlier, but they're still releasing the episodes free, which is like awesome, awesome. And I think it's really because the company understands that, you know, ad revenue exists on YouTube. You can post something on YouTube and you get ad revenue. So it's like if people are watching it, yeah. So yeah, definitely go. I got the link in the description of this video too. So if you haven't seen it, I think like 6 episodes are out if you're a member, and like 3 episodes are out or something if you're not a member. You can definitely go click on that, watch the first episode. Definitely like tell them I sent you. You know, go over there and be like, Quinn's idea sent me here. You know what I mean? Just do that. Do me a little favor. That'd be awesome. But yeah, so like I was saying, I think episode 3 or so is the episode that's really like got that hook moment when he's taking the photos and he's seeing the numbers and they're all popping up. It's like, what the heck is going on? And like I said, that was the part in the book where I was like, okay, this is a really, really good book. So in this stream, I don't know how much I should spoil yet. I think after about like 5-6 minutes, we're gonna get into spoilers for at least book 1, so I can talk about like what I saw in the show, like in relation to what happens like later in the book, right? So, but for now, we're not gonna do spoilers for what happens in the book because it seems like I think a lot of people are gonna want to enjoy this show episode by episode, and if you haven't read the book, it's like the way it unfolds is so cool. Okay. So we'll give it 5 minutes, and let me just make a note for something that I want to talk about in like 5 minutes so that I do not forget it. Because there's an effect that they keep doing in the show, which I think definitely represents something later on, and it's really, really cool. And also what's been really awesome watching this is that I'm also currently working on my next 3-body problem video, and it's very, very far on in the series. So it's like watching this show again, I'm like being reminded of like all the little characters from before the series like really, really expands. A lot of these characters I totally forgot about. A lot of these characters I totally forgot about, which is really funny. And I'm like, oh yeah, that guy or that girl, like you're not like really a part of this later on. Because by the time you get to like the second book and the third book, so much time passes because it's really not about like any one character. Like Wang is definitely the main character in the first book, but like when it goes beyond that, it's really just about humanity, and like all of these characters are just proxies for like just humanity as a whole. You know what I mean? So I think that's a really interesting thing about all the books as they go on. So yeah. So before we get into the spoilers for like all the episodes of the show that I've seen and the spoilers for like the first book, then I'll just get to some questions, and I'm gonna pull up the super chats, and we'll answer all the super chats real quick, and then we'll get into spoilers for the show and for book 1. I won't spoil anything super crazy, but we're gonna talk about like basically what happens. So let me pull up these super chats. Gonna pull up the super chats, and I do that by clicking here and going. There we go. There we go. Actually, before I do the super chats, over on Patreon, I told you guys to ask me questions if you had any questions for the stream today. And so I'm going to answer the Patreon questions first, and I'll get to the super chats, and then we'll talk about spoilers for the show. How's that sound? Anyway. So someone says, any books similar to the 3-body problem? Absolutely, yeah. Okay, if you want books similar to the 3-body problem, you could do The Killing Star That's by George Zabrowski and Charles Pellegrino. It has a very similar concept with like the dark forest, without getting into spoilers. So you'd like that one. And I think you'd also like Children of Time, Adrian Tchaikovsky. So it has like that same like kind of like progression of humanity through like really, really like slim odds. So yeah, I think you'd like those two if you want like a similar to Three Body Problem type thing. Someone says, have you read The Locked Tomb or the Texiclan series? Both have intricate worlds, lore, and political intrigue. Second, what are your thoughts on the works of Mindy Orkaraf? I can never say her name. I'm so bad. Okoraf. I've never looked up the pronunciation, but you know, she is a sci-fi author, Afrofuturism. So I have not read those two series that you mentioned, but Mindy. Binti. Okay, I started reading Binti, and yeah, you're definitely going to get videos about this in the future from me. I definitely think it's kind of like a little bit like you could see the Octavia Butler influence on this one, especially because there's like these Medusa aliens, tentacle things, and like Binti goes through her own transformation. So yeah, Octavia Butler. So yeah, I like her work. I'm kind of new to it, but yeah, it's pretty good. Okay, so next question on Patreon. Not gonna lie, when reading, I speculated the first book was an elaborate metaphor for relations between the nation states of Earth, probably just projecting. The second book made me question the significance of humanity and the larger scope, but I think the last book kind of answered that. Oh yeah, good points. I definitely think Shishin is using several metaphors about different nations and humanity. And I think, contrary to a lot of people, what a lot of people think, I think this book is actually kind of, at least the American version, is kind of highly critical of just like the Chinese government. Like there's a particular, the aliens in this series are kind of a direct metaphor, you know, to the Chinese government. It's like pretty obvious. So yeah. And a good point about like the second book making you doubt the significance of humanity in the larger scope, because I definitely feel like the second book in the series is kind of the one where you're just like, oh God, we're kind of specks. And then the third book kind of ends on kind of a higher note, like a little bit more of an optimistic note. So yeah, I totally get what you mean from that. All right, so that's the end of my Patreon questions. You can totally check out my Patreon, please. It's like the best way to support my channel. And we just like redid all the tiers. We got a lot of stuff happening on Patreon. We got like Patreon live stream that only Patreons get to. We got the Patreon only Discord channel, and you can get access to that on my Patreon, link in the description. If you want to support my channel, please do. So yeah, that was the end of the Patreon questions. And so now let's get to the super chats that I've gotten so far on this YouTube channel. Let me look during the stream while I was talking, because it's really hard for me to read the super chats while I'm talking. And then we'll get to spoilers for the episodes and for some parts of the book. Okay. So Lord Flannis, the flayed anus. Okay, interesting name. Congratulations on getting married. How did you and your partner meet? Modern love story on Tinder. Yep. So Mackley says, love your work. Looking clean, sir. I tried the audiobook, but couldn't get past the Chinese names. Lots of characters too. And I couldn't grasp it. You know, you're not the first person that has told me that like the names kind of threw them off. I mean, but I know that's kind of why I liked it though. It's a little bit more like interesting and weirder. It's like different names. I like seeing different names from different places in the world. I think it's pretty cool. It added to it a lot for me. And I think that the book being written by a Chinese author gave it a feeling that was distinct from American books, you know, like European books. It was definitely like it was a different vibe, a totally different feeling. And I really appreciated that. So Archibald Fidspo says, the Nerd Squad salutes you. Nerd Squad, salute. Okay. King Crab says, when will the next Three-Body Problem video come out? This week. I'm working on it. It's super long. It's about a bunch of different stuff. The working title right now is The Master Races of the Universe, because I'm trying to mine as much information as I can about like the other beings that inhabit the universe throughout the Three-Body Problem books. So I'm trying to gather as much of that as I can and like it really expand upon them and try to explain what's going on with all of them. So yeah. Okay. King Crab also left a super chat. When will you explain the rest of the three-body problem series? I swear I thought you said there was one last part about it. Love your work. Even after this video here, there's probably still a lot more to talk about. So there's not really one last part. There's a bunch of little things and a bunch of big things that I've just yet to cover because there's so much. Okay, so Lord Flannis again says, love your work. Thank you so much. Okay, and that's the last of the super chats for right now, I think. And thank you so much, Trace Face, for your super chat as well. Okay, excellent, excellent, excellent. Now we begin talking about the spoilers for the show. So far there's no like okay. What to talk about as far as spoilers is concerned. Okay, I think that if you have not read the book and you don't exactly know like the general plot of this, I think that a few of the things, I'll get to the chat, not fuck the chat. I'll get to the chat. I can't like talk and look at the other stuff and look at the chat too. But I think that if you don't know like where the story is going, that a lot of it might be a little bit confusing. Because they're not really giving you any indication when there's flashbacks, right? Because we're seeing a lot of Yang Dong, we're seeing a lot of young Yao Wenji, but it's all kind of without context. It's all kind of without context. James says one more Patreon question. Sorry, I did not see that. It's kind of all without context. I feel like it can be a little bit jarring if you don't know where the story is going. So we learn in the beginning that Yang Dong kills herself, but we keep seeing her throughout the show. So it's like, I could see it being a little bit confusing. It's like, when exactly is this happening? So I feel like that's kind of a little bit of a, yeah. Okay, so last super chat. Henry Quimbaya says, Quinn, still planning to create a review of Luo Ji's plan. I'm going to do a video about Luo Ji's plan and everybody's plan, but that's like deep in the series when we get to the wall facers and stuff like that. So yeah, I feel like the way the show handles flashbacks a little bit is a little bit jarring and a little bit weird, but that's a minor thing. Because if you really are paying attention, then I think you can see past that. That's another thing about this show. If you are not paying attention, this is not a casual watch TV show. That's one thing we got to squash real quick. This is not a show that you can probably recommend to your mom, unless your mom's like really into sci-fi, like real hard sci-fi. This isn't a show that you like recommend to your mom. It is really philosophical. There's a lot of like really like long drawn out conversations like it is in the book. It's not necessarily like exciting episode by episode, and it is a show that you really, really have to watch and pay attention to really get what's going on, because there's a lot of like really interesting subtleties that could like I think easily go over your head if you kind of like look away for even like a little bit of a second. So yeah, it is definitely, it's probably honestly based like out of the science fiction shows that I've seen, it's probably one of the most challenging science fiction shows that I've seen, because it's not cutting you any slack. It's not cutting you slack. It's like basically keep up. It's keep up. You got to keep up or you're going to get lost pretty quickly, I would say. And it's not like I said, it's not the American norm. Like even when it comes to more cerebral American science fiction, it's not like this. It's not this level of depth. Like the best science fiction movie that you've seen, it kind of pales in comparison to like a science fiction book. But this show is kind of like on par with like the pacing of a book, right? Because like, here's the thing for people that like don't read books too, is that like when you open a book, it's not like immediately extremely exciting. Like when you open a book, there's a lot of like build up to get to the stuff that actually is really exciting. And you know, this show is more akin to the pacing of a book than to the pacing of a show, right? So people are saying, is the show out already? Someone said to me, I'm going to have to mention every 10 minutes that this is the Tencent Chinese adaptation and not the Netflix one, which is later this year. So yeah, keep that in mind. And the Tencent one is on YouTube for free, but you can become a member on Tencent and get it early. And I'm not a sponsor, just to say again. Not a sponsor. So yeah, I think that's one thing. The pacing of the show is one thing that I think will turn some people off. But for just being a fan that's read the book and knows where it's going, and just being like a general fan of like sci-fi storytelling. Oh, for me, it's just great. Like I love all the conversations of like physics and the mysteries of the universe, and all just like I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay. What else to talk about? What else to talk about with this show? I will say that Da Shi is a little different than how I imagined him. I imagined Da Shi as a little bit older. Wang is basically the character that I pictured while reading the book, so like he's perfectly cast. Um, oh yeah, we also got to see Yao Wenji. I think we finally got a conversation with Yao Wenji in episode 4, and it was really interesting too because at this point in the book, you don't really know that much about Yao Wenji. And I remember in this point in the show, you don't really either, to be honest. But it's really curious because you have no idea that this is who this woman is. And you just think, oh, this is the grieving mother of a woman who committed suicide. But then once, like later on, when the layers of this character unfolded and you realize like exactly who she is and exactly what she has done and the cost of what she has done to humanity, it's just like, oh my God, it's incredible. Someone says, what's the show called? It's called Three Body, and the link is in the description. Yeah. Yeah. Is the channel it on free on here? Oh. Someone says, is the channel it is free on here in the description? Yeah. I've linked to the place where you can totally watch it right now. Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. So it's interesting too. They keep breaking up the Turkey scientist in this. And I kind of feel like I could be wrong, but are they bringing it up a little bit more than in the book? I could be wrong. I don't know. The Turkey scientist thing is a really, really interesting and scary topic. And they bring it up in the show, and they had this really neat animation for like the whole Turkey scientist thing. So it's like you picture a civilization living on like a flat field, and then you've got like a shooter in another dimension, and the shooter is firing holes at like every, like, I don't know, 10 centimeters on this like flat plane where these beings live. And so their scientists come out and they're like, oh, a law of the universe is that there is a hole in the universe every 10 centimeters. So they're mistaking an unchangeable law of the universe for the whim of the shooter, right? It's like the shooter just did this because he wanted to. It's not a law of the universe, but there's no way for the people on this flat plane to know it. So that's one scenario for how the universe is potentially. And then the other scenario is the Turkey scientist scenario, which is even more just freaky and scary. So you just have like a group of turkeys, and every day at noon, the farmer comes and feeds them. And so you get a turkey scientist, and the turkey scientist, he observes all of this happening, and he thinks, oh yeah, there's a law of the universe. Every day at noon, food comes. That's a law of the universe. And then Thanksgiving happens. And they think, oh, the food's coming because that's the law of the universe. And then the farmer comes and slaughters all the turkeys, right? So again, the turkeys mistook what was just like what the farmer was doing, just like to feed them and like, you know, get them ready for slaughter, as like a law of the universe. So yeah. it's like the we are being farmed hypothesis, which is really, 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 really freaky. Really, really freaky. Mm-hmm. Okay. From a 0 to 10, how dark is the series? Well, depends on what you mean by dark. I think the series is existential, but it's not dark in the same way that it's not like depicting a bunch of like messed up stuff. I feel like almost like a Song of Ice and Fire. If you read that series, it's more dark, just like based on like the things that it depicts, like just like the horrible things. But this really, what the darkness in the Three Body Problem books comes from, just like the existential dread of the concepts that it's introducing. So yeah, and in that matter, I feel like it's like a 10. It's like it's like a 10 once you get to the ultimate like idea of what the Dark Forest is. You know, the idea that like we can't, like the idea that like, you know, Star Trek and Star Wars, these like alien civilizations that are interacting with each other and interacting with humans and they have a positive relationship, the idea that that's just not possible at all is, yeah, it's freaky. It's freaky. It's like more terrifying than like the idea that like we're just alone in the universe, which to me, the idea that we're alone in the universe is more eerie, I think, than terrifying. It's just like, wow, that's weird. Like, where is everything? How is it possible that we're the only life that formed? It's very, very strange if like we're just alone. It's almost like, were we like placed here by something? Just like this vast darkness, and we're the only bubble of reality. We're the only thing that's perceiving the universe. I think that's creepy. Eerie, yeah, for sure. Someone says, thanks for keeping, oh, thank you, John, the wandering fool. Thanks for keeping the good literary conversation alive. Well, thank you so much for being here during the stream. Okay. Someone says, the concept of the dark forest absolutely terrifies me. Definitely terrifying. Someone says, where are you watching this? Link in the description, everybody. Link in the description. Someone says, I'm 45 minutes behind, but happy to catch it live. Best regards from Texas. That's Johnny Campbell. Hey, Johnny Campbell, you'll see this in 45 minutes, I guess. Someone says, the scariest part of the books is how we react to the Trisolarans. That's going to be really interesting to see in this show. Okay, one thing that I'm very excited for is like, as the show goes on, at the end of the book, we get a whole like section in the book that's from the perspective of the Trisolarans. So I'm very, very excited to see how this show depicts the Trisolarans. Because it could go either way. This could be like really, it could be really bad. It could potentially be really bad because we don't even, in the book, we don't even know what these aliens look like. We don't even know what they look like. So it'll be curious to see what they show. Okay, and I did take notes earlier because there were some things I wanted to go back to. Yeah. So there's a really interesting thing that the show does that I love, which sometimes when it's showing like Yang Dong or it's showing Wang, it'll have like this drone shot. It's like all like it's like something is watching from the sky, and it's like really distorted and weird. That is the Sophon. If you've read the book, that is 100% the Sophon. So in the book, the aliens have already crippled. That's why physics is all screwed up. The aliens have crippled physics. And the Sophons are all over Earth and they're just kind of watching everything. That's 100% the Sophon. And it's like, that's so freaking cool. That's so freaking cool. And one thing that I like, another visual choice that I like that they're doing is that a lot of the scenes will like start off by like being like, it'll show the universe and then it'll zoom out and it'll zoom out into the like atomic structure of an object in the room. And then it'll zoom out more and then you'll just be like in reality again. And that's really, really interesting because later in this book, and probably later in the show too, we get into a really interesting concept called higher dimensional microcosmos. That's not what the concept is called. I don't know how to express the name of the concept, but like we get into the idea of a higher dimensional microcosmos, right? So in the three-body problem universe, when we move to higher dimensions, everything is more complicated. Everything has more space, right? So if I was looking at this room from within the higher dimension, I would be able to see the internal structure of everything way more spaced out and way more complicated. And as the dimensions increase, that complexity expands exponentially. So it gets increasingly more and more complex. So at the end of the first book, we see the process of the Trisolarans unfolding a proton into higher dimensions, right? So if you think about a proton, it's 1 point, it's fundamental particle. It's 1 point in space-time, right? But as you move into higher dimensions, the complexity and the intricacy of a proton becomes more and more complex. So what ends up happening is the Trisolarans actually disturb civilizations living within the proton in higher dimensions, and those civilizations attempt to defend themselves. It's so mind-blowing and cool to think that like there's like a universe within a proton, and that like because of what the Trisolarans were doing, they noticed and they're like, oh, you're going to destroy our universe, so we've got to defend ourselves. And it's not really clear whether or not it's like one civilization or like I think it was likely a group of civilizations all coming together trying to defend their universe from like basically the Trisolarans who were about to destroy it. So that's really cool. And I like how in the show it's already introducing us to this concept by like showing like the zoom in. So there's a universe inside of everything. Like there's a universe inside of everything. Like just the complexity of a proton, of a fundamental particle, is just so cool. Okay. Yes, Henry, that is absolutely, I think that's in episode 2 or 1. That is absolutely there. And it's a really cool scene. It's in episode 2 or 1, I think. Yeah, it's a really cool scene. Someone says, for me, the scariest scene from the book was when the weird countdown number appeared on the scientist's eyes. Yes, and that is, I think, about episode 3 or 4 in the show. And I was saying earlier that I think probably in the American one, that'll be the end of the first episode, but it takes about 3 episodes to get to it here because it's just so much. There's so much that happens in the book up until that point. The episodes are about 45 minutes long, Led Zepp. So yeah, that's definitely the hook of the book, and that's the hook of the show for me. So I think that if you're going to recommend this show to anybody, it has to be someone that you know is going to like science fiction. Like you can't, the normies, I don't think the normies are going to be into this one, but if you really like science fiction, tell your friend, like, watch at least the first 3 episodes. And if you're not hooked by the first 3 episodes, then this is probably not the thing for you. And like I was saying before, there's in total about 20, someone's saying about 22 hours or so of total time in this show, 30 episodes. So I think that's longer than the audiobook. I really think that's longer than the audiobook. So the show is longer than the audiobook. And a really interesting thing is the show is, it's really kind of, I feel like a Western thing kind of, that our television shows have gotten so short. Because when I was growing up, for there to be like 25 episodes of a show was normal. Now it's like everything's 10 episodes. And I feel like, was that, what caused that? Was that the Breaking Bad impact? Was that the Game of Thrones impact that now everything's 10 episodes? Because, you know, Star Trek, they'd have like 25 episodes per season. And that was most shows, right? So I don't know exactly what changed, but I like getting 30 episodes. I like being totally immersed and not having to lose any of the things that I love about the book while watching the show. I think it's great. And I really appreciate the fact that it doesn't seem like the people that made this show are putting much of themselves into it, right? Typically when people make adaptations, they have like the Stanley Kubrick approach where it's like, yeah, that's what the source material says, but really I'm just going to make this my own thing. And it's like kind of totally different ultimately. Here it's kind of like I said earlier, it's kind of like whoever did this screenplay just basically, so far it seems like they took the book and adapted it as best they could to screen with like minimal changes. There's a few things that are kind of like a little bit out of place, just a little bit. But just ultimately, I think the changes are minimal, which is it's really, really great. Okay. If someone says 30 episodes is great, but it's really hard on the actors. Yeah, I could see that. So one thing that I was wondering when thinking about the 3-Body Problem show is that I know the 3-Body Problem Netflix show is going to be a lot more Americanized, which means we're going to have a lot more English being spoken. Probably there's probably going to be a lot more scenes that take place not in China. And I'm just wondering how exactly they're going to handle that, because the book, I mean, it's typically, here's the thing I was thinking about too, with a lot of adaptations of things, it's a lot easier to like take something that was like, you know, set in one country and just like simply move it to another country. But with this story in particular, the fact that it's happening in China is kind of important. It's kind of a big deal that it's happening in China. So I'm very scared about the Netflix version. I'm very, very scared about the Netflix version because they've just from the casting alone, you could tell like it's a lot more American and British actors. So it's like, we'll see what happens. Not saying there aren't American characters in this show. There's already American characters in this show. But it's like, we'll see. We'll see. It remains to be seen. Generally, like it's the consensus is that D&D are pretty good at adapting source material, but like when making their own stuff, that's kind of when they fall short. Someone says, will Netflix show the cultural revolution parts of the book? Maybe. We'll see. So far, this show has not shown the cultural revolution parts of the book. So maybe later on they'll show it. Or like I said, I don't read Mandarin or speak Mandarin. I don't know Chinese. So I have not read the Chinese version of the book. But I heard that part was actually cut from the Chinese version of the book. So, you know, I mean, I don't know what to say. Yeah. Netflix has been bad about canceling shows that catch on. Oh, yeah. Are you telling me? Netflix canceled 1899, which was just really upsetting to me. Like, I have no idea why they canceled 1899. That was very, very upsetting. Someone says, I can't imagine how they could reintegrate this cast into a story and cut the story itself into condensed Western standards without slaughtering the original thoughts. I have the same dilemma when thinking about the David and Dan show. I don't know how you're going to adapt this story to be like what an American audience wants. Because I feel like this is a science fiction book. This is a hard science fiction book to the core. And if you're like a very particular person that likes hard science fiction, then yeah, you might like this show. You'll love the book. But do I think that like a regular, just everyday American would turn on Tencent and watch this and like it? I probably not. I feel like you'd be very confused by the first episode and you probably wouldn't get the second episode and you'd probably lose interest. But then that being said, I still have no idea how you would take the story and adapt it for an American audience. Yeah, and not lose something fundamental about the story and like what it's all about. You would definitely like lose a lot, right? Because I know they'd want to like speed it up. Like I said, I think the first 3 or 4 episodes in Tencent will probably be 1 episode in the American one. Which is like we're gonna miss a lot of the really eerie, like interesting things. So it's kind of hard, but I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what they do. We'll see what they do. Maybe they'll swing it just right. Maybe they'll swing it just right and it'll be different. I think one thing you can count on is that it will certainly be very different. But I think it'll be watchable. Maybe like the fundamental concepts will remain intact. But if it's really bad and it sucks, we'll always have the Tencent one. Yeah, there we go. What's it going to be called on Netflix? I think the Netflix one is called Three Body Problem. Or the Three Body Problem, whereas the Chinese one is just called Three Body. And the book series is, of course, the Remembrance of Earth's Past series, these books. So you got the first book in the series. That's the first 30 episodes of this Tencent show will just be this book. And then you get The Dark Forest, second book, best book in the series by far, in my opinion. And then you got Descend, the third and longest, I believe, book. This is the one where it gets into the really weird concepts. This book has some of the most interesting and weirdest stuff that I've ever read, and it's so cool. It's so cool. Someone says, so neither version is faithful. Well, no, I would say that this Tencent version so far is very faithful. It's very faithful to the source material so far. Yeah. It just remains to be seen. Only 6 episodes out for members now, 3 episodes out, 2 or 3 for everybody else. I've seen 4 of them so far. I think I'm like excited to watch the other 2 tonight. If that tells you anything. Generally for me, I would much rather have something that just gives me the book story. Like as a fan of just science fiction, and I like these books. Like ultimately, when it comes down to it, I like the story. That's why I read the book. I don't need it to be changed. I really don't. So like ultimately, I like it. That was my problem with the Foundation show. It was like I like the Foundation books. This show is not the books. So why would I like this show, right? I don't really like. To me, the book, the Foundation books are great. They're philosophical. They're very slow, but that's what they are. And they tried to make that show into like this action-packed, like Star Wars type things, and it was just it was bland. It was not what I was into, and it failed. I don't know if they're doing a second season of Foundation. Maybe. But like with the Tencent show, I feel like yeah, like I'll be able to go back and watch the show and enjoy it. And I think it's for me it works. For me it works. For other people, I don't know, maybe not. So just let's look at the chat and see how many in the chat right now. Have you seen any episodes of the Tencent show? Have you not seen it? Have you read the book? And if you have seen it, what do you think about it so far? Let me know, guys. I'm looking at the chat now. I've been looking at the chat, but yeah. Also, we're gonna continue the conversation about Three Body after the stream over on Discord. So if you want to join us on Discord, like totally join us on Discord. It's a lot of fun. Lots of science fiction fans chatting about different stuff. You can get into contact with me. We can chat about stuff over on Discord. Link in the description. It's a fun place to be. And also, if you're a Patreon supporter, there's like a Patreon only Discord channel over there. So it's really awesome, super sweet. So yeah. So someone says only know the book. See, I think that if you've read the book, you'll like the show. And I think this show will be a really interesting experience for people that just read the book and they can go right into the show. It's really cool. There are English subtitles. Someone says I'm on episodes 1 to 3. I'm enjoying it very much. Someone says seen the first 6. Episode 5 felt weird a bit tonally. I have not seen episode 5 yet, so we'll see what that's all about. Oh, it's my mother-in-law. Hey, everyone say hi to my mother-in-law. Hello. Yes, and Carl Karsnark. Okay, yeah, that's another thing I meant to talk to you guys about. New streaming channel. So we're going to be talking about basically every episode. I'll get on here like I don't know, like tomorrow or the next day, and we'll stream and talk about every episode. But that's going to be on my new streaming channel, Quinn Streams. Link in the description. So if you want to get in on all these streams in the future, they're going to be on that channel, not Quinn's Ideas. So you probably want to go to that channel and hit subscribe, hit the bell, do all that stuff if you want to like get access to all the streams, because we're just going to be reviewing the show as it happens. So we're all going to be watching it together, reviewing it, and it's going to be fun. So yeah, click the link on the description, do that, and yeah. So yeah, so far, I just have to say, like when I realized that because I feel like the marketing has been kind of weird. I don't know if it's just because I'm in America, maybe it's better in China. But there was something about the show supposed to be coming out last year, and then it didn't happen, but whatever. But it's out now, so it's cool. But when I first saw that there was going to be 1 episode per day, I got so excited because I absolutely wasn't expecting it. And it makes me, I don't know, just very happy and excited to continue watching this show and to see it unfold. Three Body Problem has been one of my favorite books for a really long time now. I've been covering it on the channel for a really long time now. Almost 2 years, I feel like. How long has it been since I put out that first Three Body video? You would know better than me. You working on anything now? I absolutely am working on lots of stuff now. I'm working on my new Three Body Problem video that's coming out maybe tomorrow, maybe the next day. But I have a big Three Body Problem video coming out, Master Races of the Universe, which is about, the books and stuff that happens way later on. And of course, my graphic novel, The Lie Behind the Star, which you can totally find. Link in the description on my website, is launching this year on Indiegogo. We're very excited about it. My dear friend Matthew Weldon is coming back to do the art for the book, and that guy is a genius on another level. I'm really excited about it because it's my first science fiction graphic novel, so that'll be really fun. Which link is dead? I don't know. I don't know what link everyone's talking about. Streaming channel link works. Yeah. So yeah, make sure you go subscribe to my streaming channel to get in on all the 3-body problem stuff, all the reviews. Okay, let's see what else. Okay, so far, like I was saying, Dasha, that casting choice is a little bit weird for me. I don't know. I pictured Dasha as just like a little bit older in my mind. But so far the casting of everybody else is pretty good. I think Wang is basically, like I said, the character that I imagined in my head when reading the book. So he looks good. And yeah, Wenji, yeah, I'm really interested to see like more from the actress that plays Yao Wenji, because she's very interesting, because she kind of has to do like 2 different tones, right? So she kind of has to like kind of appear as like the sweet grieving old lady, and then later it's like, yeah, Wenji, leader of ETO, so it's kind of different. So, but so far, yeah, great casting. I think they like casted everyone well. And 2, I can tell that like the people that adapted this like science fiction, because I feel like when people don't like the genres that they're adapting, it becomes very obvious, at least to me, because the stuff that they emphasize and the stuff that they think is important, you can tell just based on the way it's adapted. Like if you're watching Game of Thrones, you can tell that the creators really didn't care about fantasy. They really don't like fantasy that much. So they don't really emphasize the fantasy. They cut it all out, kind of. But here, the science is the emphasis, which I think is really good. I think it's really good that the science is the emphasis. David Maximo, 83. Thank you for your super chat. Wow. So I think, let's see. So I wish I could do a poll and get like what percentage of you guys are watching the show or have done it. I'm gonna see if I can make a poll somewhere. What's the best website for doing like those like quick polls? Let's see. I see other YouTubers doing this all the time. I don't want one where I have to sign up, because I want to poll you. Straw poll, right? That's the one. That's the one. Have you seen the show? I'm going to post this poll in the chat, and you guys can go vote and tell me if you have seen the show. Gonna post the poll. Okay. There you go. So yeah. So you guys click on that poll, and I can get a more accurate reading on who's seen the show and who hasn't. The numbers are coming in. Okay, so far, have seen the show is definitely winning out. Okay. So far, we're at 80%, 82% have seen the show, 83%, it's going up. Okay. Get out there and vote. So yeah, like I said before, I think the show is for 2 kinds of people. People that maybe you've watched a ton of my videos, so you know what's up with the series, but you haven't read the book. I think you get into the show. Maybe you've read the books and you just want like an adaptation that's like on par with the books and has the parts of the books that you like. Then I think the show's for you too. So yeah, not for normies. Looks like we're evening out at about 75% or so have seen the show, and about 25% have not. So yeah, Okay. Okay. So like you still have time to watch the show. It's gonna be on Netflix. So like maybe so hopefully by my next stream, if you want to watch the show, you will. You will. And like I said, make sure you click the link in the description to get to my new streaming channel, because that's where all of my streams will happen. Oh, wait. I'm an idiot. I'm an idiot. I can't read. So it looks like, yeah, so only 25% have actually watched it. 70% haven't. So yeah, definitely. You guys should definitely go watch the show. Like I said, if you fit the criteria for seeing the show, I think a lot of people don't know about the show, which is why I was saying earlier that I feel like the marketing has been a little bit bad, because I feel like most people had no idea it was coming out. I had no idea that was coming out. People told me that it was coming out. I'm like, I didn't know that. Had no idea. So yeah. The marketing has been kind of bad, I feel like. But yeah, definitely give the show a try. As a major Three Body Problem fan, I think that the show is pretty respectful to the source, but well, very respectful to the source material. I don't know exactly how close Shushin Le is to the production of the show. He seems to have like some degree of influence, at least it seems like it, because it's, like I said, very close to the book. But yeah. So someone says, up to how far has it been adapted? It looks like they're doing the entire first book over 30 episodes. 30 episodes. So yeah, that is more than enough time, I think, to go over all the nuances and the intricacies of what happens in the story. All right, now, so we've been going for an hour, and I think we thoroughly reviewed the show. I think summarized, I think that it's pretty dang good if you're into hard science fiction or if you've read the books. Yeah. So thank you guys so much for watching. Subscribe to my new streaming channel. Please subscribe if you want to catch the other reviews as the show goes on. Oh, what's up, AK? AK, I didn't see you there. But anyway, and also hit the like button on the stream before you go. It just helps out with the YouTube algorithm if you like the stream. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me and watching. We'll be back later this week with more YouTube videos. Great things to come. Lots of other science fiction things that I'm getting into too, just to give you a briefing. So I think we're going to be getting into The Passage. I don't know if you guys have heard of that trilogy, and I'm blanking on the author's name right now. The Passage. The Passage, Justin Cronin. So that trilogy, we're going to be getting into that. And then we're going to be getting into some more Alistair Reynolds, for sure. More Adrian Tchaikovsky coming up. So we got Children of Time, Children of Ruin, more stuff on that series. And then also his new book is coming up soon, like the third book in that series. So yeah, we got a lot of science fiction books to cover. I haven't seen the Passage TV show. I don't care to watch the TV show version of the Passage. But yeah, so we got lots of science fiction books to cover. I'm always reading. I'm always trying to expand my knowledge of, whatever is out there. So I love you guys. Stay safe, be happy, and peace out. By the way, I'm probably going to take this video off of this channel and upload it to the streaming channel as well, because that just seems like something I should do. Peace out, guys.